Okay, well, welcome everyone. Thanks again for giving up another bit of time on your holidays. But we have found in the past years that the summer symposiums have been very helpful for teachers. And it's that time of the year where we start thinking about planning and getting things going for the school year. And our brains are already starting to migrate towards the classroom, even though we kind of like to have another month off. But that is where we are, and that's the life of us as teachers. My name is Chris Sarsky. I'm one of the consultants for the Consortia, Designer of Professional Learning, which is a kind of a fancy way of simply saying we do PD with teachers wherever and whatever you need. And today, what we're going to unpack is just taking a bit of a walk through the APLC website. There are lots of connections to other websites that it makes, but we probably won't have time. If we do, I'll go into some of them, but we'll try and stick to the APLC website because there is a wealth of resources that have been created for you already, but sometimes finding them is a little bit tough. And if you don't have the exact name of it and you don't know exactly who did it, then sometimes that makes it even more frustrating. So just learning how to refine some of those searches or open them up because you don't know what's available to you would be one of the things that we'll look at today. So I will encourage you to take the links when I give them to you and open them up. Maybe flip back and forth as you're looking and don't get lost. And I know it's always that if I give you the link and you take off and then I lose you partway through, but just sort of keep switching back to me if you're working on one screen so you can kind of see where we're at. And then we'll move forward from there. I'll try and cover as much ground as I can and get you going in that. Okay, so to begin our session, I am going to start off with our land acknowledgement. Again, if some of you have just joined us for today, you will know that kind of if you've done any sessions with me, that when I do the land acknowledgement, I tend to always include something in there, and that happens to be one of the resources that we're going to link that's in the APLC website. But I'm not going to start with the APLC's acknowledgement that we have because I'm pretty sure that every session is probably using that. I'm going to use the one from Robin Kimmerer, which is the Honorable Harvest. And so in the land acknowledgement, we're acknowledging that other people have been on this land and that they were the first ones to this land. But if you know anything at all about the Indigenous culture, Mother Earth is absolutely the most important piece for them and the connections of all life to Mother Earth. And so Robin, who is Indigenous herself, talks about, when we go out and we take things that we see for granted, what should we be thinking about? What are some things that we should be considering as we walk through a beautiful forest or we walk at a mountain level and whatever? So it's just 2.5 minutes long. I'd invite you to use it at any time with students. It's a great teaching tool. And then we'll get started.
If I could choose just a single element of the traditional teachings that we're called to pick up, it would be the teachings of the honorable harvest, which were taught us by the plants, who give us everything that we need. It's a covenant of reciprocity between humans and the living world, a very sophisticated ethical protocol. One of the first steps of the honorable harvest is to understand that the lives that we are taking are the lives of generous beings, of sovereign beings. And in order to accept their gift, we owe them at least our attention. To care for them, we must know what they need. And at the very minimum, we should know their names. And yet, the average American can name over 100 corporate logos and 10 plants. Is it a surprise that we have accepted a political system that grants personhood to corporations and no status at all for wild rice and redwoods? The protocols for the honorable harvest are not really written down, but if they were, it would look something like this. When you get to the woods, you don't just start grabbing everything in sight. We're taught never to take the first plant that you see, and that means you'll never take the last. This is a prescription with inherent conservation value. And then if we encounter another plant, we ask permission. I've always been taught to address that plant, to introduce myself and tell it what it is that I have come for. If you're going to take a life, you have to be personally accountable for it. I know there are places where if you talk to a plant, they think you are crazy, but in our way, it's just good manners. If you're going to ask, you have to listen for the answer. You can listen in different ways, pragmatically, intuitively. Look around, see whether those plants have enough to share. And if the answer is no, you go home. For we remember that they don't belong to us. And taking without permission is also known as stealing. And the Honorable Harvest counsels that we also take in such a way that does the least harm and in a way that benefits the growth of the plant. Use everything that you take. It's disrespectful of the life that's given to waste it. The next tenet of the Honorable Harvest is to share it with others, human and non. The earth has shared generously with us, so we have to model that behavior in return. And a culture of sharing, we know, is a culture of resilience. Plant gatherers often leave a spiritual gift behind, but it can also be a material gift. Weeding, caretaking, spreading seeds, helping those plants to flourish. We give songs, we give ceremony, we give our respect, we give fertilizer. Every breath that you take is a breath that was made for you by plants. And the water that you drink, whether you're in an urban setting, whether you're on a remote mountaintop, we still are recipients of those gifts. And if we take the time to be grateful, that brings us into that state of humility, of understanding that we are not at the top of a biological hierarchy, that in fact we are the younger brothers of creation.
She's got a beautiful storytelling voice, and she does a lot of lecturing, um, where she often will refer to some of the things that she's done. She's amazing to listen to. So, in the spirit of reconciliation, we want to acknowledge that this gathering is taking place on traditional lands across the province of Alberta, and in this case, outside of Alberta, home to many diverse First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. We acknowledge that this land is a traditional meeting ground, giving voice to its original peoples and the story of creation of this country in a way that history has forgotten. And so when we look at some of the materials that, regardless of the subject now, okay, I'm not just going to stick to science, but any of them, all of our curriculum documents have Indigenous expectations that are written into the curriculum. But there's also lots of places where they could have put a lot more connections in. Indigenous advisory committees in Central Alberta, I work with them as well as the math and science. So I'm quite aware that we have those expectations. And it's also an area that we're also very well aware that teachers are saying, I don't have anything. I don't even know where to get anything for that. So one of the places that we're going to start right away is this one that is linked at the bottom here. I'm going to put the link in the chat box, and I'm going to ask you to bring it up. And everything I'm sharing with you, I would suggest just bookmarking it, because you probably will come back to using them again. So this is not just specific to the APLC site, but it is housed on the APLC site. So I'll give you a second to grab that and bring it up on your computer. And then if you can come back to me, I'm just going to show you what's there. I'll always give you time to go through and look at things. Just kind of hang in there with me for a little bit, and then I'll give you time to go back and have a look. So this is the second version of the site already. This was started a few years ago by Kitaskino, which is a First Nations group that is living in, I would say, northern Alberta, fairly north, yep. And they had worked on this as a team of teachers, and now it has been moved sort of outside of just their school division and opened up more broadly into all of the curriculum documents. And so Jason Big Charles is one of the teachers that is working on this. along with Kim Barker-Kay. And what they've done is gone through as new curriculum is unpacked, and we do things like this, and they've looked at where can they infuse Indigenous knowledge? Where do we have tools that we can offer to the teachers to add to your lesson plan so that you have that connection for Indigenous curriculum? So the expanded version, which is what you've got now, includes this top row up here. I'm not going to go into every one of them in just a minute. I'll give you some time. But just so that you understand what you're looking for, elders' voices and stories and legends are stories that Jason is telling you that relate specifically to a lot of times the connection that we're looking for in the curriculum. If you can't bring an elder into the classroom, and we're often not going to, we don't often have the money to bring a speaker in for everything under the sun, nor should you, you can absolutely go here and have the students watch a video of an elder telling the story or a knowledge keeper. And it would be the same as bringing an invitation into the classroom. I would still do the open acknowledgement so that they understand that that's an important piece. I might teach them what protocol is so that they understand that if this had been a live person coming into the classroom, what would we have done for protocol, etc. But you have, and these are ongoing, these are living documents. Jason continues to add to this. This is not finished in any stretch of the imagination. So from a science perspective, stories and legends, that's a big one, huge one for a lot of the outcomes that we have to teach. But for all of us, this last column is kind of where you want to go. So whatever grade you teach, I'm going to suggest you go into that. I'll just pick a grade. I'll pick grade 3 for now. Let's say grade 3 comes up, and what you're going to see here is LA Math, Science, and Social Studies. So they had the old and the pilot version sitting there. Now it's already been updated. So you have a tool to go to. So the question might be, well, I don't see anything in my curriculum that says I'm supposed to do First Nations here. Why would I go here? And I would say the opposite. Don't wait for a document to say and First Nations or including First Nations. Just go here. Every time you plan a lesson or a unit probably better, I would come here and I would pick the subject that I want to look at. Now, some of you are language arts, some of you are math, some of you are science, whatever. I'll stick to math or science for the examples that we do now from here on in. But either way, what will come up is the opening, in this case, the opening organizing idea in science is matter. If you opened up the Alberta Ed document, it's matter, right? It's green though, and you might be wondering, well, why isn't this green? And so Indigenous culture has a different color for the different times of the year, the seasons of the year. And so this is matching typically what's in there. There are some things that typically we would teach more so in certain seasons of the year than you would in other seasons. It's just like storytelling. When you ask an elder to come in and do stories, it's not wrong to ask them to come in the classroom and do a story in social studies or a story in science or whatever. But typically storytelling is in January and in June is the Indigenous month that we celebrate. But January is kind of the storytelling month. Why? Because in the times where we weren't modern here and you had Indigenous elders telling stories, they would be telling them in wintertime because they couldn't go outside. It was too cold. So they were in the teepees. This was the time to teach, the time to tell stories. And so that's why that's more related to storytelling month or bringing an elder in to share wisdom. So then a lot of times teachers will say, well, and if that's what's true, then can I be teaching something out of sync with the season or the color that's in the apps? Absolutely, right? We recognize that we are acknowledging that, yes, they do happen at different times of the years. And some of these would be taught differently, depending on where I am in Alberta at different times of the year. But you aren't obliged to just focus on that certain time. Okay, so how do I read this? Well, the first 3 columns are exactly what you will get in whatever subject you open from your curriculum document. The last two columns are the ones you kind of want to pay attention to. So ways of knowing and any other suggestions that they found that would be helpful to teach this particular outcome are going to be listed here. They're all hyperlinked as well. So that's why I say make this kind of a habit as a go-to every time you start a unit. What, if anything, is available to me here already? Like what's been found that I can use, and that would be that's something I can infuse. If there's nothing there, it means that they could not find a legitimate connection to that outcome. And at this point in time, they're leaving it blank. Anything that would go in there would be contrived, and we don't want that. So that's how you interpret that. Okay, so that'll be kind of an important piece to remember as well. All right, so you have that for every one of your grades. It'll expand to the older grades with newer subjects. Every time new subjects come on board, there'll be more of it. So this is just one location that you can go to get some support for your planning that you're going to do. All right, I'm going to go back to my slide deck. So we're going to look at the website. We're going to unpack where to go and where to find things so you could become a little bit more proficient at that, and try and narrow down your searches if you're just looking for one thing. And I'm going to say that you're not always going to find it even with a narrowed search. And sometimes I'm just going to say to you, if you can't find something and you saw somebody do it, just email one of your local consortia, email me, I will find it for you. There's been times as we've updated the website where I had trouble finding things. Took me a little while. So it's fine. Don't spend your time trying to find, if you're spending more than 10 minutes looking for something anywhere, that is a good reason to send an email off to somebody. One of the things that I want to remind you of, and it says here, what's posted that I should know about. On the website, you can also get information about new sessions, but one of the ones I want to highlight to you is this week, we're also offering some gizmo sessions. Karen Bloomhagen is doing those, but Karen does gizmos, and if you have never done a gizmo before, that's definitely worth checking into. A gizmo is an interactive opportunity for kids to learn. But it's a lesson. It's a whole lesson. So instead of me doing the traditional stand up, deliver, or what I was going to do, I can give them this gizmo and they would work through it. They need the technology, they need a laptop, they could work in pairs. But there's lots of different opportunities, both in English and in French. And she's going to be offering information on those this week. So I would check that list that you got for registrations. If you go to one of her sessions, what she will do is she will also give you another website to access, which is the Explore Learning gizmos again. Alberta Ed purchases gizmos licenses for teachers to use. But if you go to one of her sessions, she will give you access to their site for the gizmos, which has way more than Alberta had actually approved. And I don't even go to the New Learn Alberta one right now, only because, not because it's not there, it is, and that's really helpful, but I also have some other ones in there that I can use. So it's worth checking both of them out. Alberta Ed has put the gizmo ones for you in New Learn Alberta right with the outcome that they believe it belongs to. So they're already married for you in there, and that's great. I mean, that makes searching so much simpler, right? So again, this would be one that I would have a look at. I won't worry about the link for that one right now. But let's go to APLC. So this is what the site looks like when you get to it. I want to just unpack the front page because that is a starting point for saving you some work. So if you want to just type in aplc.ca into your browser and bring it up, if you haven't already got it, I would bookmark it so that you've got it for the future. And when you brought it up, I'm not going to go into it quite yet. You had this menu that was at the top. This menu, just enlarged for you, is kind of a critical starting point. It will save you a ton of looking if you use it to its advantages. So what is everything? I'll just run through them quickly. Learning opportunities is exactly that. I want to know if there's a PD on math assessment. I want to know if there's a PD on science. I don't know what I want in science, just something in science. So this is where you would click it on and it will bring up by month, it'll bring it up by year. You can search by topic. If you have a particular presenter you were looking for, so you wanted something that Chris Arski was doing, you would type my name in and anything I'm doing for the year will come up. So that's one way for you to search the PDs that are available. And remember that PDs are continuously being added to the site. So just because you went to it today doesn't mean that's it for the year. We're just getting started. So there'll be always new additions being added to it and added to it and added to it. Curriculum resources is the one we're going to spend most of our time in. So that's the one I'm going to show you how to refine. There's also resources that didn't really fall under those sort of 4 cores or 5 cores. So those sit in here. Okay, and that's what that's one that's worth checking out item by item just to see what's in there. So you have a sense of why would I go there? Or maybe I'm not going there because there's nothing in there I want. That depends on what you're teaching. We do have a number of different podcast groups that are posting now as well, especially in ELAL. So this would be another place to go and get other information, really great information actually. And then over off to the side here, you can see it at the top, you can toggle between English and French. So if you're a French immersion teacher, then you're going to want this in French, right? So you have the option to flip back and forth there. So learning opportunities, as we talked about, this bar at the top is the one that I'm going to spend some time on. And whenever I click something at the top, so let's go back to learning opportunities, another menu comes up below that. You don't see that at the beginning, but the minute you click it on, this blue bar will come up, this blue menu. So here I can say focus. It'll give you a drop-down menu, assessment, math, science, LA, like whatever. You can just click it on in there, or you can type it in. Maybe there was a particular one you wanted to, you know the name of the session, and you just type it in here, and so then that will come up. Region all. So the province is divided into several regions. So you each have consortias within your regions. And so those consortias now we're trying to get away from it's Cork region only, or it's Calgary region, or it's the northern region. We're trying to get away from that and just say there are regions, but the PDs are all posted in one place. So you don't have to go hunting through everything anymore. It's just all there. And we're all putting them together, so it makes it easier for you to search. Is there a particular month that you were looking for PD? I have a PD day, I have a PLC day, and I need something that I'm going to work on that day, or I'd like to do something in. This would be a way for you to find out, is there anything offered at that time? Or is there something offered before that where you could register, get the recording, get the link, and then do it on your PD day, right? That's an important thing to remember in the APLC site. PDs tend to be recorded like they are right now. So if I coach basketball, I do volleyball, whatever after school, I can't stay after school. Still register, because if you register, then your name goes on the list to receive the recording and any handouts that were done. So kind of a no way to lose in that one for sure. Okay, and it will tell you if the delivery method is a virtual one, so recording like we're doing now, or is it in person? We're getting lots of demand for going back to in person. So you may find that now they are face-to-face, right? So that's another decision you have to make. Do you have sub costs where you can get out of the classroom? That kind of thing. That curriculum resource one, as I said, is the big one. It's the one that allows me to really refine where I want to go. So let me get in there with you so that I'm on the same thing. I'm going to go into the curriculum resources, and up comes my blue bar. So if you can just watch just for a second, if you've not been here, I'm just going to show you a couple of different ways to get in here and then to give you some time to go in and do some searching. So subject area is kind of self-explicit, and these will move around. Just because math is at the top right now, it might be at the bottom next time. Always catches me off guard. It shifts itself around. So I can pick which subject I want to look at, okay? I can look at what grade specifically do I want to look at. You cannot choose 3, 4. You have to do them one at a time. It doesn't mean you can't get there eventually, but you can't click both of those on at this point. And then the resource type, and this is an important one. The APLC website, everything below this blue bar is where we post all of the new material. So if I don't, let's say I didn't say subject, let's say I didn't say grade, I didn't say what I wanted, I just got here, I'm going to go, oh, okay, what do they have? Whatever is the most recent completed material will be posted at the top, and then it scrolls through. So if I don't tell it anything specific, you are going to have pages and pages and pages and pages to scroll through. Even if I said I wanted, okay, I'll stay with science first, I'll go to another one in a minute. Even if I just did science and didn't tell it anything else, you can see right at the bottom, there's 141 resources. So do you want to spend the time going through it? And I'm going to say to you, sometimes there's value in doing that because you might be looking for something and have no idea that there's something else that actually you could have used to post it and there. So sometimes doing a scroll through isn't a bad idea. So let's pick a subject. If you want to stay with science, fine. If you want to pick a different subject, that's fine. Pick your grade. So let's say I'm going to go grade 4 this time. And if you're not overly familiar with APLC, I always suggest that you just leave it at all. In other words, find out first, what all do I have available to me in grade 4 science? If you picked grade 4 ELA, I don't care what you pick, just find out what is there first before you start refining it down. And it might be a little bit more than you're hoping for. So I'd like you to take that moment right now. I'm going to give you at least 5 minutes to get into that. Pick your subject, doesn't have to be science, pick your grade and leave it at all and just see what all is available to you in that part that you took. Excuse me. Okay, if you get stuck on anything, just unmute yourself or drop a question into the chat box. Excuse me. Okay, if you can just pause where you're at right now, just come back to my screen if you're working on one screen. I just want to look at the resource types and just run through them orally with you first, and then give you a chance to go back because there may be something sitting in there that would be helpful to you. So let me just give you a brief overview of what these are, because that also helps to refine your list of things that you're going to look for. So the toolkits were things that came out of last year's summer symposium, because we've been doing this for quite a while now. And the toolkit was just kind of a compilation. So if I was looking at science grade 4 toolkit, it might give me everything. It might give me the numbered outcomes document, which is the curriculum document. I might get a curriculum comparison. It might give me video links. It might give me CPAR documents. all of them were kind of housed in one click, click, click kind of location, right? So it saved me having to go through the whole list that was here and doing it individually. But some people don't necessarily want the whole toolkit. I just wanted one thing. I don't want everything else. Year at a glance is more for the math. So if you are teaching math, in the new math curriculums, K to 6, I had created a year plan. So if you were trying to figure out how do I spiral the information through here, especially because when they first started, they didn't have the background knowledge to the things that they had to do. So how do we do that? So that's what a year at a glance is. It's a version of a year plan. Whether you choose to use it or not is up to you. We didn't make it certainly not mandatory. Nothing on this website is mandatory. It's just resources for you. There are two versions of the year at a glance. One of them has the typed out pieces that I would do each month, and it's done by month, and the multiple outcomes that are done each month. And then the other version has hyperlinks of the terminology of the concept. So maybe you're new to teaching that particular subject or that grade, and I don't really know how I'm going to explain to the kids what this means. Then you just click it on and a definition example comes up. Sometimes a whole lesson comes up. So we try to hyperlink those new concepts so that you would have something available to you. The parent resource is also that. It's related to math, and it just gives the parents an overview. But you could model that if you wanted to send something home for them for any of the subjects that you're teaching and get a sense of this is kind of how it was summarized, and that's what we use to send home to the parents saying, over the year, here's what your child's going to learn. The key documents are those documents that we felt everybody needed when they first started a new curriculum. So they're still up there because they're still being used. But they would be things like the outcomes. So the big outcomes document that you got from New Learn Alberta, we took the science, the math, and the LA, and we numbered those outcomes. So most of the materials on the website will reference the numbers on that. Only because it makes it easier for planning. So if you're working with a grade partner and they're not in the same building, you can phone each other up and say, hey, we're going to work on Earth Systems 1.1. Okay, both of you know exactly which 1.1 is because it's already outlined for you in there. There's no gray area about what page are we on, which column are you in. It's all there. And so the same was done when we started it with math, and it worked exceptionally well. It was easy for people to navigate through. Universities liked it. So that's kind of the document that we're going to use. So for example, with the new 7 to 9 that's come out, I've already got a numbered outcomes document for that one. Draft as it is, and we know it's going to change, but it's already been completed. There were also curriculum comparison documents that were put in there, which are up here separate, but those key documents, curriculum comparison was, what did we used to teach? What is it now? Is it exactly the same, or did it get dropped, or did it get moved to another grade, or what happened to it, right? So it was just for a quick snapshot for teachers to see. Right now, it's not really that important to see the curriculum comparison anymore in science or math because the curriculum's set. So it's basically pick it up and let's go. But at the time when you're first doing it for the very, very first time, that's important for us to know. Teaching resources can be anything from a link to here's a document to here's a template. There's anything under the sun that could fit in there. So that's a big, broader one that you might be able to find some things in. And then the last one is the CPAR documents. And those are ones, we just finished a session on that. CPAR documents are kind of our way of helping teachers to find resources in a resourceless sort of curriculum that we're in right now. So we don't have assigned books that we're used to seeing. And in some courses, that's great because we need a little more flexibility. But sometimes people are saying, I don't even know what this outcome means. Like, I get it, but I don't know what am I actually going to do with the kids? What does that look like? The CPAR documents offer you illustrative examples, or they offer you starting points. They offer you more than you could possibly dream of ever using in making your lesson plans. So there are videos that are on here as well, and that also falls under teaching resources. Videos that were done, for example, in math. Every math outcome was unpacked every 2 months. Every science outcome for every grade, learning, organizing idea was covered. So there's lots and lots of videos. And in those uncovering videos, we teach what is in that unit. So those are worth watching. Those are still posted on the website. And below any video that you get on the APLC website, always look below the video, because that's where you'll find the slide deck, the resources that we shared with the teachers, all which you have access to. And you can open them up, download them, keep them on your computer, use them, not use them, get ideas from them, edit them, whatever you decide you want to do. So I would like you to go in and get a numbered outcomes document for either math or science. If you're doing an LA one, it'll only go up to grade 6. But I just want you to get to one of those, and let's just have a quick peek at one of them. I'll go to a math one this time, just so I switch subjects for those who are doing other ones. And I don't need a grade in here because the numbered outcomes document covers kindergarten to grade 6. It does them all, so it doesn't matter. If I have the grade assigned, doesn't make any difference at all. So when I click that on, here's what came up. And notice that there's 2 things happening. I have 2 of them, and it doesn't just say numbered outcomes document, it also says financial literacy. So initially in the draft version of the math curriculum, financial literacy was in the math curriculum. And then when the implementation version came out, the financial literacy moved over into the phys ed and wellness curriculum. So it was a bit of a change, but you have several outcomes, skills, and procedures that reference money, financial literacy. And so when we put the numbered outcomes together, that's the only thing that looks a little different, is I inserted the financial literacy outcomes that relate to that grade. So if you're a grade 1 teacher, financial literacy will show up in there. If you're a grade 5 teacher, financial literacy shows up in yours. Whatever it was in your grade in the financial literacy, I just embedded it in here because you really do need to know what that is so that you're progressing them through in order to connect the math to it at the same time. And again, you have this interactive. It has numbered or concepts that have been highlighted and hyperlinked. So I'll just bring this, make this a bit larger. So this is the typical color for math, for example, green for science. But you can see here that any one of these here, these are all hyperlinked. And if you click them on and say, I don't know how to explain evaluate, now you do. So it just gives you some of those key skills that I have to be able to identify for students and be able to explain to them what it is. Here's a perfect example of where grade 3-4 is ending in math. The gray is the color of phys ed and wellness, and here is where you find the financial literacy sitting. So whatever the outcomes are, this is where your students should be at in being able to do that. But it also it directly implies into your math curriculum. So if I'm doing decimals, if I'm doing percentages, I need to know some of that stuff in order for me to even get into here. So if they haven't done that, or somebody hasn't done this, and then the next year the teacher assumes that they've done all of this financial literacy and they're going to do a budget with them, and the kids haven't seen it, that's a problem. So who's teaching this? It depends on your school, right? Is it the phys ed and wellness teacher? Is it the math teacher? Most schools have the math teachers paying attention, and that's why we put it in here. Not saying that that's the way your school is going to be and that you have to do that. The numbered outcomes, the easiest way to read them, the first number is your grade, regardless of which subject it is. Science is the same. So when I look at the this one here, I see 4. So this is a grade 4 outcome. ST stands for statistics. M stands for matter. ES for earth systems. Those types of kind of logical combinations. And then when you see this 1.1, 1 means it's the first learner outcome that shows up in your curriculum, which it is. Students evaluate the use of scale and graphical representations of data. The 0.1 says this is your first cusp. You've got a bunch of rows in here. The first knowledge, understanding, skill, and procedure is right here. But now there's another one right below. It's still the same learner outcome, but you now have a new understanding, new knowledge, new skill and procedure. So this row is called 1.2. If there was a third row, it'd be called 1.3. If it was a fourth row. So we don't change the 4 and the ST and the number 1 because it's just the first learner outcome. It's just what row are you in? That's the decimal number. And we did that in math, we did that in science, and we did a bit of that in language arts. Language arts didn't have quite so many different rows to it, but they did number them and they did use their own sort of acronyms at the top. So that's the numbered outcomes document. I would have that printed off. I would print this on 11 by 17. Any of the numbered outcomes documents, print them on 11 by 17, do them back to back. You can just staple them and flip them up. But so you've got something to reference quickly. And then you can also see what's there for the numbering system. Okay, I'm just going to pause there for a moment before I go back to the website. Is there any questions on what that is? Okay, I'm going to ask you to keep yours open, your APLC site open. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to the slide deck. I called a slide here helping you find places. We're going to visit a bunch of places. Some of them we've already talked about. But as I go there, I'd like you to go there on your site so that you can see what they look like. And in some of them, I'll give you the links as we go through. So some helpful sites that I want you to be aware of. Remember I said that there were videos, for example, in math. There were videos in science. So here's an example of videos in science, all of the ones that we did. So we did one for every organizing idea, and we did one for every grade. So if I just were to click one of these on, let's pick one. It takes me to the website. And remember I said, any of the videos we do, this is an hour and 15. It unpacks everything that we did. And then below that, in this case, science people also get a computing science video that comes right on the tail end of it. And the reason we did that is a big one for people. People are saying, I don't know anything about computing science. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that. So we have a colleague, Ange Deering, who looked at, as we unpacked what we showed the teachers to say, here's what's in this organizing idea for your grade only. And there are links and stuff built in here. Then you have this below that, along with her slide deck, her lessons, and whatever. So always look below any video in any subject area for slide decks and resources. All of these you can click on, all of these you can download, all of these you can use. Now, one other thing I want to point out to you before I give you just a second. If you look on the side, since we're in implementation, this is an implementation. In other words, getting going, this is the year it had to be taught. Here are all the other grades. We're in grade 4 right now. So let's say I teach a split grade. I could go to 3. If I teach 4, 5, I could go to 5. So off to the side, we have this resource collection. Instead of having to go back to the front page, just look on the side of the video, and that will let you jump around between other grades. Why would I care about that if I'm not a split grade teacher? Maybe I need to know a little bit more about it. I've never taught this before. Maybe I need to know a little bit more about where I'm sending these kids to. So maybe I want to watch a grade 5 and just see what are they expected to know, or what are they doing? So I have to make sure I get the kids to that level. Or I'm not sure that they know what they're supposed to know, but I'm not really sure what they had learned. So maybe I just want to quickly have a look here, or I could look on the numbered outcomes document, right? So this is always available on the side of videos too. So what I'd like you to do right now is go into a subject area, especially the math and science. See if you can find a video for your grade and just click into it just for a minute. You're not going to watch the whole thing, but just find a video, find the resources that are below it, and see if that's working for you. Again, pop back if anything doesn't work. You're going to get a copy of this slide deck. So all of the stuff I'm showing you that's hyperlinked that we're not going into, you'll have access to. And for our grade 1, 2, 3 teachers, including kindergarten if you're on, this is just giving you hyperlinks to 4, 5, 6 because that was the newest. But all of your videos, all of your CPAR documents, everything is already posted in yours. So I would go in and just have a look and see what I can find for videos that would be helpful to me. Okay, you can come back. I'm going to go just a quick trip back into the slide decks or into the site again. I've gone back into curriculum resources, which I can pop into at any time wherever I'm at. I can just go up there and switch things around. So I went back into math. I selected grade 2. I left it at all. I want to know what's out there for grade 2. I'm doing this because I want to highlight some things that you're going to see at any grade level, especially in the math, if that's where you're teaching. So there's a scope and sequence that we have created, just shows you a little bit about how things hop, but just specific to number, and then it'll go into geometry, and then it will go into each of the organizing ideas. So again, that might be something to have available to you so you kind of see how things are building as I start teaching. The numeracy guiding document is, again, one of those things that just helps you to look at where is numeracy and how do I build that into my lesson plans. If you are a split grade teacher, then you might want to have a look at this. These were 4 session series that the consultants worked with teachers to say what's important to consider if I'm teaching a split grade class. We are looking at making this a little bit more specific. I probably will start with science, but I can absolutely think that I'm going to probably move into math as well, where I'm going to get a little more specific than the general piece. We're going to look at maybe, I teach 3, 4. Can you tell me how to unpack living systems for grades 3, 4? Like, what do I do? Doing something like that, just making it really specific to an organizing idea and to a specific grade combination. So if you are a split grade teacher, you might want to watch for that, or send me an email if you haven't seen anything for a while, and I can let you know where that's going to happen. But it will be a series that we would go something like 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, like all those, like all the possible combinations so that we can try and support. Another one is math manipulatives. Okay, that's another series of videos that has been created. Manipulatives are huge in our new curriculum. So a lot of times people are saying, great idea. I don't know what to do with it though. I've never done that before. There's a whole series of these. Again, when I click these on, you will find that there's a drop down. Oh, okay. Let me just note that one right off the bat. And that's one of those things that happens with links, but I will check that why it's not coming up. But there's a whole bunch of these. Let's try the money one. Here we go. So you have a very brief video, 10 minutes of intro. Where do I get it? What is it? What am I going to do? And then the second video is let's do it. So I do it with you hands-on. I would just model the whole work. And these are all the ones that have been covered so far. There's a whole whack load still to add to this, but this is a place you can go to as well if you're doing the math side of things, right? So you have some things to look at. Okay, let's go back. So interactive year at a glance, that's your year plan. That's the one where you can click things on. Supporting mathematical thinking, these are looking at tasks and higher order thinking skills. So again, some of this stuff you just need to actually go through and see what do I really need, or what are the holes that I need to fill. I could use a little bit more in that as well. The CPAR documents have been done for K to 3. They are all posted. Almost all the grade 4s are posted. Half of 5 and 6 are posted. My goal is still to have grade 6 all finished, all grade 5, 6 finished by September 1 and posted. They just take a while to do. But you have them again by organizing idea. And these offer you all kinds of different, I'll just pick one, where you can go in, science, math. LA has a great one. They've got tons of resources on there, but maybe you're teaching this grade for the first time, and I can see what the knowledge, understanding, skill, and procedure is, but I don't know what that really looks like and what I'm supposed to do with it. So here you have your illustrative examples that you can, and you're welcome to use these in your lessons. You can just click them on and grab them. We've given you sample formatives. These are formatives, not summatives, that you could use with the kids to see, are they getting it? Do they know what they're supposed to do? And these have been done at all the grade levels. At the top, we also give you I can, I know statements, I understand. For those of you who have the Nelson pre-assessments, what would I give them to see whether or not they brought in the background knowledge that they're supposed to? Well, you've got a whack load that you can choose from here, or should choose from, that you can use. Vocabulary is in here as well. So these documents, these CPAR documents, if you haven't seen them in another session already, they're massive, and they give you a ton of resources that, in the absence of having a book right off the bat, that you can use. We use the surface deep and transfer conversation that happened in some of the other ones, but nonetheless, these are formatives. This is applying the knowledge, and you can download these, change them, edit them, only give them one, like, or not. Don't use them at all. That's up to you. At the bottom of every CPAR document in math, a little bit different in science. They're all a little bit different, but the idea is the same. If you have mathology, here's the pieces that link to it. If you're using Math Up, here are the pieces that link to what you just taught them in that cusp. If you have books, and this is one thing that I have said to superintendents that have asked, you actually have resources in your schools. What you don't have is teacher time to go through those resources and figure out what I'm teaching now came from where. Did it come from grade 3? Did it come from grade 4? You guys don't have time to look for that. So these have already been done for you. So most of you have either Math Makes Sense or Math Focus in your schools. Well, you could teach that cusp by using the existing books. Here's your reference pages. So you're not without totally, that's for sure. It's just not nice because they're not all in one place in a nice little neat package, that's for sure. The other piece is we have some agreements with other countries where they created materials for their teachers. And if those materials are a pretty tight fit, then we've included them in here for you as well. So if you see something in the core knowledge one or NCETM, those two come from other countries, but you have the rights to use them. The book, I wouldn't just print. Don't just open these stuff and hit print, because some of these are really big. But you can even just take a couple of pages. Check out, this is a student book, an actual student book. So you can print it. This is the teacher guide that goes with it. It's probably about 300 pages long. So don't just hit print, figure out what you want to use. And the teacher resources they built PowerPoints, activities, assessments, like they made everything for their teachers. You can use them. So always check to see in the CPAR document, is there anything like that done already? That might save you a whole lot of planning, or if you've gone the planning already done, maybe this is a good place to insert some additional pieces just to support the learning that you've been doing already with the students. Indigenous connections. Here's your gizmo. So Karen's already curated what fits for this grade. If there's nothing here, don't go look for it because she's already done the work. She's saying if there's nothing there, There's nothing there. Like, don't bother trying to go through them all. And then you go on to the next cusp. So the next knowledge, understanding, skill, and procedure. That was just one row of all the information that you get for one row. Now we're going to do it all again. New language, new I can statements, new enhancements, new illustrative examples, because you have new knowledge, understanding, skill, and procedure, still in the same organizing idea, and then these types of things. So that's a CPAR document. They are huge, but they are very, very well used. Teachers love them, and we're finding that those are pieces that you might want to use. A couple of other things in here, concept maps. Concept maps for science teachers have also been something that we've heard over time, Ted and I. Amazing. I mean, for the first time, I actually know what I'm supposed to teach. This is not the end all be all. It is a version of what we saw as being, let me just grab one, I don't know, let's pick a grade 5 one or something this time. So we're looking at grade 5 Earth systems. Don't know if it's going to let me, it didn't want to let me enlarge these last time without blacking out on me here. So let me just try. Yeah, no, I'll just enlarge it so you can see what's on here. But these are everything that's in grade 5 energy, or sorry, Earth systems, that I would have to teach the kids. But what this also offers you as a teacher initially, and some have used it with the students, and some have just said, I use this to help me plan. It just gives you what are the big rocks I have to teach, and then how do they connect? What goes with what? This is one vision of it. This was our vision. This is how we unpack the curriculum, but it's not the vision, right? You might put all of these topics and you might reorganize them differently than we did, and that's perfectly fine. This is just a great starting point. So if you are brand new, then for sure you can go. Oh, you can't see my screen? Is there anybody else that cannot see my screen? Can you just chime in? I just want to make sure it's not everybody. Okay, Angelina, can you just refresh? It might be it just kicked you out temporarily. And if you need to go out and come back in, then by all means do that. But it's probably just, it can sometimes just do that, right? It just kicks you out. Great, thank you. Awesome. Okay, so this is the kind of thing that is on there as well. So you have all of that on the website. You can search by concept maps, you can search by science. Again, lots of different ways that you can go into that bar. You can use that search bar, remember that I showed you? You can go into that for the APLC. The concept project, that's another one that allows you to get into the concepts. Concept progressions is the second biggest document that teachers like in the science because it offers you a very quick, I can enlarge this one, just give me a second here. It offers you an opportunity to see what actually is being taught in that organizing idea. So we are currently looking at living systems. It's not offered in kindergarten. And what we're seeing is what are the big rocks that they offer in grade 1 and how does that connect to grade 2 and how did that connect to grade 3? And remember, this new science curriculum is connected. There's no more boxes. You don't just throw something in a shelf and say we're starting something new. Everything is connected for the next grade. And everything that's in here connects to another organizing idea. So once you get familiar with your subject matter, you'll feel more comfortable in moving things around. Same thing with the math. Some people looked at the year plan and said, you have number and geometry and algebra all at the same time. And the answer is yes, because there is an aspect in geometry that you're covering which is actually linked to the algebra that you have to teach them, which is also linked to. So yes, we showed you all of those. That's that spiral. And then you bring it back again and you bring it back again and you bring it back again. So just ensuring that kids are not getting one and done and you're walking away from it, they're continuously bringing stuff back. And the science and the math are very much set up that way, as is LA for sure. So these are done for every different organizing idea. They're all in one document. And the reason you're not seeing anything for this is because kindergarten to grade 3 don't do space. It starts in grade 4. So it'll be interesting to see what the 7 to 9 is going to offer us. Also, the skills and procedures. Remember, skills and procedures in science have to be taught to the students and assessed, not as a separate test, but they do have to be assessed that they know what they mean and what they're going to do with them. So these are sort of our first kick at the can that we did in looking at what are the big rocks? What are the ones that keep showing up over and over and over and over again? Because the very first time that we taught this, there's no way that you could do 29 different skills in the first year. You can't be proficient at that. So you see the ones that have dark pink lines that go through, or in here, you see the ones from frequency. That doesn't mean if it has a frequency of 1, I ignore it. It just means that either the ones have already been covered over here, or they're kind of incorporated in here. And that was the other thing that we found. So this just gives you a bit of an idea. Chinook's Edge is one of the school boards that's shared in your sharing side of your documents. They have done a great job of sort of organizing that for you. So I put that link in here because I thought they did a really good job of that, and it might be helpful to you as well. Those of you doing science, what about investigations? What about the scientific method? So earlier we said scientific method is something that starts in grade 2. It does start in grade 2, formally starts in grade 2. But a lot of the teachers in the province are saying, I'm starting in grade 1 because they really need to understand some of that. And I agree. So we have included it in here. And this is kind of what most of the grade 1 teachers were focused on. But the reason you have this graphic is if you teach grade 6, you have to go back to grade 2. If you didn't do that, you need to go back to grade 2 and teach them the 7 steps of the scientific method first. And then you'll see in grade 3, we added this on to those 7 steps. And then in grade 4, because the grade 3s did this, we added this on to that, to this. So this is very progressive in nature. And we need to get the kids up to speed. So by the time they get to grade 6, they are really motoring in their ability to analyze. Hypothesis is the first time it shows up is in grade 6, because up until then they're talking about questions. So they're not talking in terms of a hypothesis. So again, these are things that you have available to you. I put the links in here to make it a little bit faster if you're looking for some of those things for the science. Computing science, we talked about that, is you saw the websites, you saw the videos that Ange did, so access those. The lesson is made for you. It's made for the teacher who's not comfortable with computing science at all. If you are, ignore all that stuff and do your own thing. But if you're not, then grab it and use it. That was the whole reason it was put there. So we really want to make sure. She has a bunch of CPAR documents as well that she's already got on the website. So if you just click on CPAR in your grade, so pick your grade, pick science, for example, because that's where she did it, and then just click CPAR on and see what comes up on your site. You will see that Ange has come up as well. And so she's broken down some of those pieces for you as well. Okay. Now I'm just going to pause there for a moment and give you a chance to go in and look at some of those CPARs and see what's available. If you're an LA teacher, if you're a math teacher, a science teacher, or all of them, just go for broke and pick your grade, pick your subject, and just select CPAR in your third drop-down menu and just see what's there. Now, if you're a grade 4, 5, 6 teacher, you didn't get all the CPAR documents because they're not all posted, but they were in that CPAR session that we did earlier. They will be posted though very shortly. And if you need one before you see it on the website, just send me an email and we'll get you set up. Make sure that you're not starting from scratch. Any questions so far? I know I'm going through a whole bunch of stuff. And we're getting down to crunch time for time. While you're in your APLC website, I want you to practice going back. And what I'd like you to do is grab your grade. But this time, instead of putting in science or math, I want you to check assessment. So go back and see if you can find out what is available to me in assessment. So one of the assessment ones that was done last year at the summer symposium, and I thought was done exceptionally well, is on project-based learning, just to get ideas. Could I use this in any grade, high school, English, social studies, any grade social studies? Absolutely. You could use this anywhere. I'm going to grab the link. I'll throw it in the chat box. So for those of you who like project-based learning types of approaches to assessment, it's just in the chat box now. Grab that. This is posted on the APLC website, but just to save you a little bit of time in looking. It's a series that they did, but they did a very, very good job of giving you good ideas of where to start. Not specific questions, but good ideas. So take that and have a look at it as well. Okay, so we're getting close to the end here. I'm just going to run through a few things to show you because you are going to get the slide deck. So you can go back and do some clicking as well. So this is kind of the important one for you, right? You want to be able to select what area. That narrows it down. You don't have to scroll so much. I can also use this search bar right at the top here. If I know really what I want, I can try and narrow it down at there. This is the second place that you're going to get some things that you want to do. Either select all, if you just want to see what's all available, and I don't know what's available, or if you know what you're looking for specifically, then you can go from there. Multi-age, if you teach a split grade classroom, this is another PD that was done over time. This is a lot of, there's 4 infographics in here that provide you with information on how do I navigate the room or the world of teaching a split grade. So again, this would be one that you want to click on if you teach a split grade. Later on, when you get the slide deck, you can have a look at it. There's a playlist that goes along with it, so you can just follow the videos that they had already created. And for science people, if you are looking, and again, this is one of those exceptions, not on the APLC website, but a lot of teachers ask me, are there some go-tos that I could use right off the bat? Like I teach grade 1 or I teach grade 5 or whatever. And these are the ones that I find are the fastest and most commonly used go-tos. They're free. These are the free ones. I have lots I belong to, I've subscribed to. They're very, very good, but we're not all going to be in a position that we're going to keep buying different sites. Mystery Science is a purchase site, but they give you 1 year for free. And that's how I started. I started with 1 year for free to see if I would even use it and liked it. It does limit you a little bit about what you can access, but I will say to you, if you need something and you saw one and you can't get into it completely, then send me an email. I do have a subscription for that. I do use it. And their units are amazing. I mean, amazing, especially if you want to do something with project-based learning. It's done. Like it's laid out for you, but very engaging for the kids. Science Buddies, Explore, Science Learning Hub, all of these are really good sites that you can go grab initially. But that doesn't mean that's the only place that you can go, right? They're just the ones that I find are fast and go-tos. Okay, so I'm going to get the slide deck ready for you. I'll put that link into the chat box. If you would please take a minute and it's literally a minute. I'll put the link into the chat for those of you who prefer the link, or if you have your phone and can take a screenshot, if you could take the survey. The surveys do help us. They do give us feedback. They do give us information as to whether we should keep doing summer symposiums or not. Just anything that you can share with us is helpful, and anything that you would like more of would be helpful. That would be, for me, always is a good thing to know. All right, is there anything else that you might have wanted to find on the website that we didn't get to, or it didn't give you enough info? Please don't hesitate to just unmute yourself or put a question in the chat box or whatever works for you. You also have my email up on the screen. So if now you've got this stuff to unpack, but once you get into it, you might say, oh, you know what, we did that. I don't know how we got there. I don't even know where it is. Just send me a quick email. Don't spend time trying to go through it and wasting it. Just send us an email and we'll gladly get you on your way so that you're not in any way, shape, or form wasting your time, right? That's the last thing that you need. You don't have time for that. I've got the slide deck in the chat box here. Just let me get it in there. Oops, come on. There we go. Okay, it is in the chat box if you want to grab that. And that will give you access to all those links as well. All right. Well, I'm going to stay on for a bit, so I'll stop the recording as well because some people would prefer not to be recorded when they're asking questions. So let me just stop that.